Good evening, folks. What you're looking at here are some pretty good suckers that are growing on my tomato plants. Today I'm going to discuss how to grow a tomato plant from a sucker. We're going to discuss why you would want to do this, how to go about growing the tomato plant from a sucker, and when this is going to be a better option than starting a plant from the seed. Alright, let's get started. This process is pretty easy. It doesn't require a lot in the way of tools. You're going to need a pair of pruners and something to put these suckers into, along with water to allow them to root. I've got suckers here that are about a month old. I have allowed them to grow that much specifically to put in a new batch of tomatoes in the greenhouse. These are going to be my winter crop to test a frost intolerant crop in here and see what the heat sink greenhouse will do. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 suckers here. I'm going to go ahead and make this a little easier for you to see and drop down to just one. I am reshooting this portion of the video because I did a poor job of actually showing you where and how to prune up these suckers. This sucker is 24 inches long, give or take, and I'm going to try again to show you how to do this. By pruning more of this plant instead of less, you're going to help to ensure that it survives. The more compound leaves and leaves you have on that sucker, the more work it's going to take by all these tiny little root hairs to sustain that plant. By pruning it heavily, there's going to be less leaf matter for it to carry through the shock of what we're doing to it. Fortunately, because I goofed up when I recorded this the first time, it's been a week and I can show you the suckers that I started with have survived and are growing. So I'm going to prune all of my suckers so that they look about like this, and then we'll go to the next step. Why would you propagate a tomato from a sucker? You want to add additional plants to your garden. Propagating will produce a plant faster than just starting it from seed. This plant is already established. This one has even actually already got blooms in it. This is going to produce a tomato faster than a seed that I would have over here in one of these trays. If you inadvertently break the stem on one of your tomato plants, you can replace it by taking a sucker and putting it in its place. If you've got a friend, family member, or a neighbor that's got a tomato variety that you want to try, but don't want to go through the hassle of having to find the seeds, you can take a sucker off of one of their plants, bring it home, root it out, propagate the plant, and put it into your garden. You can try it for free to see if you like it. Or if you're like me, you have a greenhouse and you want to produce a winter crop of tomatoes, you can take tomatoes from out in your soil garden, pull suckers, and propagate new tomato plants into the greenhouse. Well, you cannot keep seeds from hybrids, and I do grow hybrid tomatoes. I grow Better Boy and Big Beef are some of my favorite. I can't keep a seed from those tomatoes and grow a true Better Boy or a true Big Beef the next year. But I can take a sucker off of one of those plants, propagate it by rooting it out, and I can continue to have Better Boy and Big Beef tomatoes. Okay, let me get this finished up and we'll go on to the next part. We've got all of our suckers pruned and we have a couple of different options at this point. You can put these directly into your soil, and with the proper care they will make root hairs and they will continue to grow. You can also put them in a bucket of water, which is what I'm going to do, allow those root hairs to get a little bit bigger, and then transplant them into your garden. I've got this bucket full to about there with water, and I'm just going to put these suckers into that water and let them sit. Every couple of days I will come out and check on them and change out the water. That one's a little too big. I'm going to shorten it up. The water will kind of take a green tinge to it and get nasty, and if you don't change that water out, the stem of that sucker will rot and you're going to lose them. So keep the water clean every 2 or 3 days and keep an eye on them. I put these on my back porch. It has a roof over it. It is not enclosed, and they will get sunlight up for a portion of the day until about noon or 1 o'clock. I have found that works best for me. If you've done something different that has worked for you, I would love to hear about it. Leave a comment in the comment section. They will stay in this water for about a week. I will have some root hairs on it about like that, and then it will get transplanted here inside of the greenhouse. In my experience, taking these right now and putting them into the garden, they will absolutely grow. The problem with that is because they have such tiny root hairs, and that's what all these little hairs are, because they are so small at this point, you have to keep them wet. They don't have large roots that are established to go out and find the water and nutrients they need. So you've got to keep the soil directly around that stem moist. If you don't, the plant's going to dry out and you're going to lose it. I prefer to establish a little bit larger of a root hair before I transplant it into the garden. Here is a sucker that has been in water in my bucket for 3 days. You can see the root hairs that are coming in. I have not lost any leaf matter off of this plant, and it even had a few blooms that it appears to be keeping. This plant is going to produce a tomato faster than a seed that I start in a tray. These root hairs are not quite big enough for me yet. I'm going to leave these guys in the water for a couple more days and allow more root hairs to set. Alright, it has been about a week and I have begun transplanting these suckers into the greenhouse. You can see all of the roots that are forming on this guy. We are putting this into a mitt-lighter garden. They will be spaced 9 inches apart, and I'm going to put them as far into the soil as I can get them. I've already started here. I've got several in, and I've got the hole dug for my next one. Let me back up just a little bit here. Before I started transplanting these in, I did put in my pre-plant at the rate of 1 ounce per foot, and I'm going to put these suckers in as deep as I can get them. All of those root hairs are going to be covered with soil, and I'm working to make sure that I don't have any air pockets as I transplant. I will continue to do this with these spaced 9 inches apart. When I'm all done, I will put nitrogen down at the rate of 1/4 ounce per linear foot. I will scratch it into my growing medium here, and then I will water everything in thoroughly. Because I don't have big roots on these suckers, I'm going to be very careful over the next week or so to make sure that the soil around those root hairs remain moist. I don't want these plants to dry out and die. Just a reminder on the nitrogen: when you put it down 1/4 ounce per foot, don't put it right up against a plant. You can get some nitrogen burn. Put it 3 to 4 inches away, scratch it down into the soil like so, and then water everything in. The water is going to dissolve the nitrogen. It is going to settle any air pockets that is around the roots and the stem of that plant, and is going to ensure that it has water. These suckers have been in here for a week. They're doing well. The soil's kind of dry and needs watered, but I wanted you to see that they have indeed survived. You can see a little tomato here. It is growing. Propagating a tomato plant through the use of a tomato sucker works. And that is how I take a sucker and grow a tomato plant from it. Before you go, I'm going to put a link here to my top 5 tips on growing tomatoes vertically. If you found this video useful, you will probably find value in that video as well. Thank you for watching, and I would ask that you would take the time to rate this video and let me know how I'm doing. Thanks for watching, and happy gardening.